Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MC Events podcast with myself, Joey Capollo, and my co-host, Gilan.
Hello.
Sorry about for a long break, but we've been busy putting our money where our mouth is, and in that case, working on our own event, which we're now gonna look at and watch today of Event 0 of Knights of the Square Table, or KST. Gilan, how'd you feel how it went on Event 0?
It went pretty well. I think for being the first time having a bunch of new people playing it in an actual event setting, I think it went pretty well. I've seen many other events do worse, and I feel confident after it.
Nice. Let's go ahead and hit the start then. In 3, 2, 1, play.
Get your team to help.
Wait, you gave up. Get your team to help.
So for this, you might catch a little bit of the audio of that clip before I got to mute it on my end. What happened? What we're seeing here is Knights of the Square Table. We're in the lobby as it was starting with Event 0, and teams are essentially doing the ready check of having to click the sword for their team to start. Piggles, as we were watching, of course, our favorite person to watch for events. And each team had there's 4 teams, 5 players in each team, and they had to click the sword to start. And it was working rather well for 3 of the teams until what happened with the red team there, Gilan.
Well, so Locky has a capital N in his name, and for some reason, the sword specifically doesn't use user IDs; it used names. I had switched it after the event. And Locky's name was basically wrong. So whenever he clicked on it, it was like, oh, Locky Ness is clicking on it, not Locky Ness. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, that's fine. So I just had to manually start it. And we'll see later in the event, there's another issue that
this rises
is
again.
due to it. Yes, this issue is fixed later, but
there are a couple bugs. I do edit out a couple of them as we breeze past, because we'll talk about it when we get there, but no need to watch the same game play the first round 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the intro sequence. It's kind of still could use a lot more adjusting, I think, to add to the hype, and because people come here and start running the castle at 1 minute, and then they go, it's still not open, let us in. I have a really funny shot of standing there as they all go into it, and then they realize they can jump around the castle, so they do that instead. And so when the door actually opens, no one's there.
Mm-hmm.
Let us in.
And to give a quick explanation, Event 0 was essentially our idea of we're going to put an event, going to get all new people who've never played it, never seen any of these games before, to hop in and play, so that we can do essentially a big test of making sure everything works, everybody has fun, it's a good time, and we don't have the pressure of already doing like all the promo and things of saying, hey, an event's going to happen. So there was nothing on Twitter, nothing on Discord, nothing saying this event's popping off and going to happen the weekend, except for the people themselves when they were streaming it, because they still were alive for it. And as the countdown finishes, we come in to the square table, and it starts our intro cutscene. Gilan, what you want to talk about the theme and why we decided on a medieval theme and how this is kind of set up to work?
Yeah, I think it's nice that we're able to finally talk about this on the podcast. I feel like we're going to talk about KST a lot from now on.
Yes.
This started, it was like 2 years ago, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Like a very long time ago, and especially at that point, and it's changed over time, but at that point, like, a lot of events were very similar. And there wasn't a lot of theming to them. Like, it was just like, it's an event of mini games, and this is an event of mini games, and this is an event of mini games. And we kind of wanted to create one that had some sort of, theme, something that we could build everything around, something the games were all based off of, something the builds were all based off, that made it feel more unique. And we kind of chose medieval as the kind of theme to go with. Medieval fantasy, a bit of fantasy, but mostly more like grounded medieval. Just because, like, that's something that
Minecraft does really well.
Yeah, Minecraft is pretty good for that. And yeah, you're saying.
And it just allows for a lot of kind of different styles of games, whether combat or movement or team games that are in a medieval style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, it's the King's listing out the games. So you have like Brawl, a horse race. You've got archery.
Jump ship. We'll go, obviously, we'll go which game we're watching.
Games, yeah.
And this intro part, we have some ideas to spice it up. We're not going to talk about all the ideas of how we're going to change things, but we'll talk about some of them. And one of them for this is to add in voice lines from a king. So then it sounds more epic.
Real king.
A real
We're
king.
getting Charles.
We're
Charles
getting a real king in real life. So then just adds to like the gravitas and the energy of the intro to set the scene and the hype for the event. I think it can work. I think what you said happened is people don't want to read, and so this kind of, they all like, all right, ready to go, ready to go, ready to go, and then it's just a lot of reading, which is fine for now. Again, first event we were able to get these teams. I essentially reached out to AJX, Sam, Dong Fortnite, Piggles, and Locky, and had each of them assemble a team of 5, and then have those teams kind of come together. So we're able to get a diverse group to kind of test all this out. And you see in the background, True List and Lethal are there as backup subs in case they're needed. And then me, Gilan, and Stein are also around watching.
Yep. At this point, I forgot to start the first game server, so everyone had to wait there for a bit.
I forgot to edit
as
out.
That happened. We all just have to sit here. But I don't think a lot of people noticed. I think they were just like, oh, it's not starting yet. That's weird. But whatever. Yeah, it might be hard to hear in the video, but there is custom music throughout the entire event for each game, made by Stein. I'm guessing eventually it'll be released somewhere once the actual event comes out. Anyway, now we are going. Now we are heading into Brawl, and we see one of the first problems that I recently fixed, which is that the game lags when everyone joins.
Everybody's sent to the server, and then doesn't start the tutorial until like 20 seconds in, so that takes a while, and then you're like, what's happening? When's the game starting? And then it goes. So yeah, Gilan has fixed it, and it's better. And the thing we need to talk about real quick is all the games for this event are in a set order. So currently, it's always going Brawl, Horse Race, or is it Archery second? Gosh dang it.
Horse race, yes, it is horse
Brawl,
race.
Horse Race, Archery,
not real.
Jump Ship, Robin Hunt.
Not
Siege.
a real fan, fake fan.
It's because we've changed the order, so my brain can't remember things. And so because they're in a set order, then there's not a multiplier, but we made the early games worth less points, the later games worth more points, and because some are more PvP heavy, then it leads to more higher differentials between teams. And so it allows for a natural flow of this first game is meant to feel kind of like the end of a survival game's like final arena. But everyone only has very limited weapons. So it said there's no natural regen, there's no food, nothing to heal quickly. There's some health pots, and you do get hearts back for killing someone. But there's there's like a sword with two durability. And then the preferred weapons are pickaxes and shovels and your fists. And those end up being just the best things to use. And there is some tweaking we've already done to this game as well, based on feedback from these players. But it's funny to kind of see how this is a different style of combat and PvP game that people weren't quite sure how to navigate.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, it basically turned into, it kind of worked out, right? Because like the main issue that we always talk about survival games, because every video we have to complain about survival games.
It's our favorite pastime.
The main problem with survival games is you spend like 20 minutes running around not fighting. And what this kind of did is it just turned that 20 minutes into like a minute and a half. Like there's still this minute and a half of gathering and not fighting and poking at each other. But now it's basically just been compressed, and I don't even know if there's really a way to get rid of it. I mean, we're kind of trying to get people to fight earlier, but still, it kind of fixes the problem.
Kind of fixes it. And part of having it be where these lower damage weapons is it just makes everything feel very brawly, and like you feel like you're duking it out for a while. You don't 3-sword crit somebody and they're dead. Like it takes a while to kill someone. And so it means like you're wailing on them, you're using your team to wail on them. But it looks like it just needs mainly some tweaks to kind of allow teams to fight earlier. And there's ways to do that. We're changing up the arena, we're changing up kind of where items spot, or which items are in what spots and stuff. But there's still a few tweaks to be doing. I think this game serves its purpose very well of just get everyone feeling good kind of thing. Like they're having fun, they're ready to fight. Because yes, as you can see from Pickle's POV, it is a lot of hit, and then it kind of turned into a sumo, which is not really our intention.
Oh, that was kind of my intention, but okay.
I mean, it turned into a sumo with too many people, I should say. Like, there were still probably like 15 alive-ish when they started just hitting each other in the lava rather than actually having to do damage.
Yeah, go on, cook, get red. Go on.
Shane with the fist, timing his punches very well.
That's my guy.
And then gets the gold team to win. We're gonna watch. There's 3 rounds to this, but we're gonna watch just the first and second round. That's gonna be how it is for most games. And it is really funny that people in chat, you'll see this all the time. They like, what is that game? What happened? What is these things? And then they don't notice it said like round 1 of 3. Oh, round 2 now.
Yep.
And so it's just humorous when you're like, yeah, we put all the information here to say what's gonna happen, but people did not notice.
It doesn't matter because they get dragged into it anyway.
That's
so
true.
they just end up playing again.
That
Kind of one of the things. It is kind of weird going from watching something like MCC or Block Wars where 90% of the people playing it know exactly what's going to happen, right? Like they know what the next thing is. But then like for new events, people are just like, well, I don't really know what's going to happen. Like they kind of have the main idea, like, okay, there's going to be a bunch of mini games. I have a weapon I probably have to hit the other team with, you know, that kind of idea. But you know, there's a bit of mystery to it.
There's not a like already established meta of here's how the game is played, here's exactly what to do. Instead, everyone's trying to figure it out for themselves while it's going on, which is really cool to see. And I also want to say, as people are watching this, you can go back and check out the VODs on various of these channels. You can see who's in based on the tab list or the chat and stuff. But if you want to give, you know, your thoughts and give some feedback in the comments, we'll read that and take a look at it. Players themselves also gave a ton of feedback at the end of the event, whether verbally to us or in a feedback channel, so that when it comes time in an undetermined amount of time, but soon for event 1, we'll have made all these tweaks to make everything feel a little better than it was the first time.
Yep. I know one thing I've already done is made mid loot better. Because you'll notice that early in the match, the times when people fight is when they're running towards the middle. So encouraging people, like making it very clear that like after the first round, the team who controls the middle loot ends up winning the later fight because they just have better stuff.
Yeah.
Like they can tank more, if they got better armor, or they can hit harder if they have the, you know, the low durability swords. So encouraging that earlier helps these fights. You can even see in this round, the fight kind of happened a bit sooner. It was, there we go now. And then you're kind of in this middle area.
Because the thing,
but it does just turn into sumo.
Because the thing you see happening is one person hits somebody in. To hit them in, they had to be close to the edge. So then somebody hits that person in, and it just kind of is a train of kills being done.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about how the intention for this game was to be chaotic, because it's the first one, and we always know it's going to be the first one because it's an event where everything's always in the same order.
I literally type it in chat there.
So having a bit of a chaotic game kind of fits perfectly because it's just like, hey, it's like the event's starting, we're doing stuff, everyone run around, punch each other. And the games that are a bit more strategic come in later.
I guess we do watch all 3 rounds. I thought I edited this round out, but I think I do it for the later games because this one shows short. But yes, that was the goal with this. That is very chaotic and kind of just have fun, get in the mood, get ready to play all the other games. And I think, I mean, there's other stuff to be said about changes we can make. I know one of the ones we're going to do is you can see when the map shrinks, the blocks turn red and then they disappear, but there's no sound effect if you're like on them or when they're getting rid of. And so in the first round, Mighty Brothers just fell off because he was not looking down and seeing that he was on the red.
Now there's a big title that comes in that says the map is decaying. So people know, oh, the map is decaying.
And the point of these nether rack pillars or nether brick pillars that show up is to show what chest has been looted really quickly and easily without just like getting rid of the chest or changing its color or something. Like it's very obvious from close and far away that, hey.
And also because it's a pillar, you can still technically open the chest. So if a player somehow breaks it and it shows up as a pillar, even if there's stuff in there, people can still take the stuff out, even if the pillar isn't removed. So it's nice in that way.
Because you can see what players try to do here is that they really try to loot up really heavily before they fight. They're geared up, which, in my opinion, isn't necessarily what you should be doing, because the gear doesn't get good enough once you have a ton of it. Like having just a wooden, if everyone has a wooden pickaxe, you're essentially equal. And you're not going to get much stronger than that. I mean, Piggles right now had 2 bows though as well, so that was a lot of weapons. But everyone's kind of on equal playing ground, even when they get a lot of loot.
Hold that ground. Wait, push down, push down. Go
And then
blue,
they
go blue.
mash it out some more. They have fun. I had to turn off the audio so that I make sure it's not in our... I don't have 2 versions of the audio going when I edit this video back. So I can't hear them. Piggles literally just using pants to punch a person.
Yep.
Because that's faster than using a pickaxe. We also had a wooden hoe in there and sticks in there before, because they do the same amount of damage as a fist, but it feels satisfying to use them. And testers were like, hey, this doesn't do more damage, don't put it in. And we're like, but it's funny. And we ultimately decided to take it out, because then people aren't misunderstanding what's supposed to do damage. But yeah, that was the end of the first game. Went decently well. The Australian team also had some lag issues, the red team, which is something that kind of every event has to deal with in a way of figuring out how to have high ping players still manage. And the issue is with Minecraft, PvP games don't really work. So one day we'll find a solution for that. Gilan, what is horse race?
It's a horse race. It's a race on horses. So you're on a horse and you have to race to the finish line. Yeah, I don't know. There's a tutorial on the screen, Joe. You don't have to ask me about it.
But
just read
it's
it.
easier to tell people than just have them read.
Okay, so there's a bunch of like power ups that it's like the mystery box in Mario Kart, except that this time it's not mystery. You can see what it is, and you try to run into it to get speed or jump boost, or you try to avoid the blindness or slowness kind of ones. It isn't like laps. You basically finish at the top of the mountain, and everyone's in the order for the first round. Then the round restarts. Everyone starts again, and they do the same thing 3 times. And the idea is you improve each time. As I don't know who mentioned, I think it was like Piggles mentioned, the horse is purposely very fast compared to like normal Minecraft horse, so you kind of like speed through it.
What's going on? It's so fast.
And it is. You will notice some people complaining about it in chat for the first round. And also you can see from a few people's perspective, people are not used to using horses in Minecraft.
People are very bad at jumping with horses. And it is necessary to do some of these parkour parts where you jump across those things.
I don't know how Piggles pulled that off. That was actually kind of impressive.
Piggles is good at the horse.
Yeah.
Other people, not
so
so much.
The idea is that in Minecraft you have to hold the space bar to like charge up the bar to jump, right? A lot of people are not used to that.
I'm so clear. I'm so clear from the
Now a lot of people complain that the horse jumping was lagging. It's not.
It can't.
It's client side. You tell it. You charge up client side and then tell the horse to. It doesn't lag.
It's like if you try to hit space, it doesn't jump as if you're jumping in Minecraft space. It charges up slightly and then jump. So it's almost like a delay for it, but that is how it's intended by Mojang and how it works.
And we kind of purposely did this because it meant that people who are normally good at movement games might not be the best at this. And it's a kind of a fun to throw a wrench in things and kind of, change the game.
Change the game. Still have some of those same ideas of like racing lines and trying to go as fast as possible, but not have it be just the same people who are already good at all the movement and parkour games finishing first regardless. I will say a lot of the people who are really good at movement also turned out to be pretty good at this game though.
Especially if they learned by the later rounds how to improve.
But Piggles' first round here was pretty dang flawless.
And then later on, there's snow hurdles you have to jump over.
Him just not realizing there that he needed to jump and the horse couldn't make it over.
I'm so
Mhm.
clear.
And the couple things we're gonna tweak about this was mainly, so you do 3 rounds, three runs of it essentially, and you kind of can improve each time as you learn the route. That was good and bad. It's good because then it gives people that chance to improve. It's bad because it can lead to like the same people finishing the same, because the best people get better and the lowest placed people get better, and everyone just
Although, to
keeps
be fair,
getting
no
better.
matter what you do, that's how it works.
That's how it kind of goes. But the idea of instead having some more changes to the map of after each round of it, so that instead of round 2 being the exact same, there's been more obstacles added or other things that have affected the environment, so that there's more variance added.
Yeah, that's not Sam, that's AJX.
But that's something we haven't quite figured out exactly how it's going to be implemented yet, other than just making kind of 3 versions of the map and then switching between them.
Yeah.
Make sure to jump over.
One issue had this one. I don't know if it actually sucks. I think someone didn't finish this
They
first
finished
round.
very late in this first round.
Okay.
Boom.
It was the round's supposed to end when everyone finishes. It did not. I think it was counting spectators as players in the race, and spectators can't finish the race because they're not in the race. So it was like, oh, not everyone's finished. So I had to fix that. And it resulted, I think, on like round 3, when everyone was getting much better, we just had to wait there for a minute for it to.
Yeah. Which has now been both fixed, and Gilan, I think you figured out a way to also skip time if we have to.
Kind of.
Kind of.
It breaks things, so it's not a good idea.
Oh no, 8 seconds. Maybe
It's fine. It's okay. It's okay.
There's consequences to skipping time.
Who would have thought? And I think a couple of the other things that could potentially be added is just what place people finish in, so they can see that more easily. And I think we are going to add at some point bonuses based on if people finish like top 5 or top.
Well, I mean, they can see their placement if they look in the top corner,
But so you can see it in chat for everyone.
Mhm.
But we're gonna, because if you look at the score on the right, it is very even, and the scores end
Yeah.
up staying very even. So finding a way to add some more
On the right.
deviation between that, which would mean like top 5 people get a little bigger bonus, or like first full team to get finish gets a bonus, or things like that.
No.
I'm so annoyed.
Wait,
People
what?
really wanted to go that way.
Yeah.
Might need a slight adjustment on the map.
There used to not be a wall there. I purposely built up a stone
Mhm.
wall to make it clear, and people are like, "No, I can do it. Trust me."
A couple of other things that were suggested is because like when you like some of the parkour is apparently very hard for people, even though we just saw Pickles do it again and all these other people do it, and so adding a way around that's just longer on the side. So if you
there
really
totally
get
is.
to-
You can climb up there
You
and go.
can.
There's a few testers who did do
We
that.
would
So
make-
if they want to try that,
could make it a little more obvious, but the issue is the horse obviously moves so much faster on the ground than having to jump. So finding a way to make it so it's not too, that's actually slower, but not like, oh, you're over soul sand and cobwebs, because that just feels miserable.
It's not about
And you can see kind of the importance of lines here as Wolfie and Pickles are battling it out. They stay really neck and neck, but there is a way to there's ways to catch up and get that little extra bit ahead.
You can also, I didn't know you could see replacement.
But
like making the jump.
yeah, making a jump does help.
Oh, in top left.
I also think the map is turned out really well, and I really like the climb up and around and through the mountain pass. Just kind of makes it feel.
Yeah, that's one reason we weren't like the lap didn't work that well, because it felt from the beginning we really wanted it to be a start and end race where you're like making your way upwards, because again, jumping mechanics, it feels nicer to be moving upwards
Okay, see.
on horse.
Like once you
Like
make it
that's-
have to be laps, you have to figure out some way to get back to the beginning in a way that feels good, and you can't necessarily do that when there's a ton of elevation change. Unless there's like a long fall later that gets you back. Or you could also just teleport people to the back beginning, but that doesn't also feel great. And so instead having it be race to the top, then reset seems like a good way. And also allows people who are behind to now have a chance to be caught up on the second and third rounds.
And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be like calculating like lap time points, and I don't mean that from the game perspective, but like players think about like, wait, did I do better on that lap? Like, am I gonna get more points that way? So it's
the definition of people who.
so if you know that improvement actually matters in the long run, because there were players who did go from like middle of the pack to higher, or from the back to more to the middle. Like there was improvement, which is nice to see.
It was a case of just needs a little more differential, and not just point, but just in gameplay elements between the laps to allow for more things to happen. Because I think overall it is a fun racing game and people did enjoy it. Again, just needs a slight bit of tweaks and it was set. We move on though to archery. Gilan, what's archery?
Archery is a perfect game with no exploits.
True.
You shoot at mobs basically. You just shoot at them. You get points. You're doing it as a team. Everyone gets their own map, so you're not like competing directly against other people. As you can see here, you get like different amount of points for each ones. And then the reason that the cow and the pig have the same amount of points is because there's like chain bonuses where if you hit the same one multiple times, like 3 times in a row, you get like bonus points. So it's to encourage people like not missing and like making good shots and kind of make the points more different. Now this game is one where the win points, like the team basically when you win,
they don't realize they have to stay up top. Yes, Gilan, explain.
Yeah, that's why you get teleported back.
Yeah.
You get win points, and it's like your placement, right? Like the fourth place team each round gets 0. Second place gets like 100, 250, 500, right? Like in that order. The problem was for this one, the win points kind of broke in the first round, and it just started giving it to the team who won the first round over and over and over again. And I don't think it gave the other teams any points. So we had an issue where the emissaries just took a gigantic lead
and
in this one and kind of stacked.
Kept the lead.
Which is even funnier based on the fact that they ended up getting 4th place in the event. Sorry for spoilers, but
sorry. So that archery was their favorite game, and they're sad with the others. So talking about this game, obviously it's meant to feel like kind of a shooting gallery, shooting range mini game. And the thing we really wanted to emphasize, which I think we still need to work on a little bit because of mob spawning, because obviously there's always mobs to be shot at, essentially. Like Pickles doesn't really have to move very much. But our idea is that there should be mobs kind of coming in waves on different sides, so you actually have to rotate with your team and call out and have comms.
And there actually is. You actually see that later in the round, and you see this is actually the problem that we saw with testers. There are a lot of testers who literally put in "there's no mobs over here" as feedback.
And we went, and you can move around. You're on a like
you are allowed to move
platform.
But it is funny because there is just that thing like, well, there's these spots on the platform, so I just stay at my spot. But at certain points of the game, like you have to kind of run over and help your teammates when there's more, for like a 30-second period, and then you run back. And I think and actually the teams that did slightly better in some of these rounds were the ones who moved a bit more.
What? And I think it did give that first place win points right there into green, and then the win points to other teams. But it didn't stay in chat, so people were confused how those points were given. And
because I don't think their points were given. It didn't actually give them theirs, so it didn't show up correctly.
And the other thing that happened here is, so sheep are worth 15 points, which are the most. But they kind of only spawn like 4 or 5 per round. They don't spawn in the waves like everything else. Because that'd be way too many points. Instead, they're like, oh, I see a rainbow sheep off in the distance right here. That's
like slightly to the right that we just saw.
Yep.
Wait, why are they moving now?
That's a nice like bonus thing to hit to get a bunch more points. But some people misunderstood it to mean waves. And so I think what they're having Debbie do on that team was they had everyone like aim at a specific mob kind of thing. Which that is a strategy. I don't know what gives you the most points strategy-wise. And Pickles finally rotates and realizes, hey, I can go over there. The feedback we got from this was mainly about adding some more stuff to do, essentially, whether there's like power-ups, whether there's like a boss at the end, whether there's more you can move around to shoot from, just adding another like level of gameplay element to make it a little more exciting. Because when you do this 3 rounds, you start to be like, all right, I've shot at mobs, I'm good. Even though I could do this all day every day and I'd have a blast. And as well, you might notice the first round the mobs didn't move. Second round they're moving back and forth. Third round they move back and forth and up and down a little bit, or they just move faster.
No, they move. They move. The difference is in the second round the ground mobs move back and forth, and the last round the chickens move back and forth. That makes it really hard. It's really hard to hit the moving chickens.
There's nothing that feels worse than getting juked 3 times by a mob that can only move back and forth.
And is like consistently just going between 2 spots.
And so the feedback we've gotten, we're kind of still deciding exactly how it's going to be adjusted, but I think in some way we're going to go for like some level of power up or something like that, where like maybe a crossbow or something that gives you an extra kind of shot that does something different. And then as well adding the idea of a boss that takes a bunch of people to take down, or a bunch of hits to take down at the end of the round could be cool. But we're still deciding exactly what is the play for it, and it requires some more testing. Also, if you're interested in testing for this event and you wanna do that, go follow Capollo Media on Twitter, and then we'll probably put out another call for testers here soon. Oh, we do watch all 3 rounds? Ah, I'm so biased. Gil, what
it allows the viewers to see that this is the most boring game.
Wrong. Best game. Gilan says this is the most boring because it was the first one coded, right? Really?
No, Brawl was.
But you recoded Brawl like 4 times too.
Yeah, but I recoded Brawl 4 times and then started working on the other games.
Okay. But this is the one you've actually been able to test by yourself and play by yourself. So you're like, please stop.
Yeah.
I don't want to play it anymore.
I've heard the ding, ding, ding.
Got to add some a new sound effect for it every event so people don't get.
It is kind of a satisfying sound if you don't hear it all the time. Especially the sheep one. That one right there. Yeah, and I like how that Piggles noticed that the sheep always spawn on stones. I always place them on rocks so that they kind of show up, but they are pretty far. So it's like a pattern that people can notice.
That's smart. And you can see here Piggles is moving around a lot more to go where the mobs are. Because there's also a bonus for being further away, but isn't it just is it ever more than a 1-point bonus for distance?
No, you just get 1 point if it's a shot over. I think it's like 20 or 30 blocks.
Piggles got the sheep again. And so he noticed, I mean, he could still then go close to some of those ones, but he's found this spot which lets him angle himself a little better to hit multiple sides. He's actually turning his perspective more than just straight in front of the plus. He's looking to his teammates' signs.
Bruh, the scoring of that makes no sense.
Oh, well, this is unfortunate. And there's a tiny cut there as we end from archery and move to jump ship the 4th game. And the first where teams are, it's still rounds, it's 3 rounds, but each team is fighting against each other through the rounds. This game had the first big bug, and so this is actually the 3rd start of it, even though I cut the other ones. Gilan, what was that bug that happened?
It was all Lockie's fault. I want to put that out there. Any attacks should go towards Lock. I'm just kidding. But basically, Lockie's name had a capital N instead of an N, or I actually forgot which one it was. There was some capitalization error, and it ruined it, and it resulted in Lockie like not existing in the game, but also existing in the game.
So
It's
like
a bit weird.
he was able to run around and play, but when he fell in the water and was supposed to die, the game didn't kill him because it wouldn't
Yeah,
register
it didn't
he
give him
existed.
points and other stuff like that. Yeah.
And
And
because
most of
it,
the other games have had that fixed because I've had that bug in the past and I've gone through and fixed it. And I thought I fixed it in almost every game, but apparently Jump Ship was not updated. Specifically Jump Ship. Every other game I played was fine.
there was a funny second bug too, which is why it was reset 2 times to be in the third, which was that the max points a team could score in a round was 100 rather than 1,000. And so we went, oh, that's not enough points to matter when you're supposed to be able to score 1,000. So we had to reset it one more time. And one of the things we also realized from this is there was no way to skip the tutorial. And so now that's also been adjusted.
Wait, they're finished.
But players were wanting to rerun because they were able to play for a couple minutes before Lucky realized he couldn't die. And players wanted to rerun and keep playing the game because they had a good time. How this game works is it's like Bridges or Bed Wars or other games that you can think of where you're trying to make it to the other team's side and fight them. But in this case, you have to jump across the team's ship, jump the ship, and then run along their gangplank all the way to the end to score points. You score, is it 50 or 100 if you make it all the way to the end and jump in the whirlpool. You score less if you're closer along on the pathway. It's instant death when you fall in the water, and people can also obviously do damage using their items.
Yeah, one of the fixes we already made is you can see players use the sails to
Get extra distance.
yeah, well they use the sails to skip the defenders on the ship deck, so the sails have been moved up so that you can't
Out of the
build
way.
up to them anymore. So that was an issue.
It's because you're not able to place blocks like too much on your own ship, so you don't just have walls being built and those kinds of things. We're probably also going to look into adjusting the parkour to get to the end to make it difficult again, because it's very easy right now to just run through. Obviously it takes time, but you still score the full 100 points, and a full 100 points is a big deal.
Yep.
Currently there's a point cap of 1,000. It might be adjusted a little higher, so that because the issue is if both teams decide they didn't want to fight and they just ran past each other, 5 players each time, you could easily get several 4,000, 5,000 points very quickly, and that then throws off the balancing of all the other games if this one game could give you that many points.
Look at the scores.
And rather than like doing like math to scale it down or something, the best way is just add a cap which is 1,000, which we might adjust like 1,250 or something like that. So then the case being that if you're like, oh, our team is up at that cap already, we're going to just play defense now. We've like secured as many points as we get this round. We're going to stop the other teams from getting points. Because there's also an extra few points for winning the round against the other team. And so it's a case of we just want to make sure that it stays in line with the other games. How it goes. We do get a funny bug here though, where you're not supposed to be able to go over 1,000, but they go over 1,000 because the points you get from where you were at when you died are added on, and they skip the 1,000 limit. We don't get it in this round, but in a different round. But we see red winning by 10 points, giving them also an extra 250 win bonus points, which is how that was calculated. That was a really close round, though. That was crazy. Red got it right at the end.
We finished the round at second, but now blue has.
So, Gilan, what's the purpose of this game? Where do we see it fulfilling its job?
What do you mean the purpose of the game?
But then
What
the
do you mean by
overall
that?
event. Like, why is this game one that we're like, we really like this, we want this to be like this?
I wanted a game with pirate ships, that's what. And then this is the one that worked. Actually, you should be asking Stein, because Stein designed this game. So I don't know what thoughts went through Stein's head. But it was probably something along the lines of bridges is fun. I want to make bridges but different.
It allows it for bridging to be a skill people can use and be beneficial within a mini game, but not make it like just sky basing or bridging a lot. It's gonna get you the win. It allows for there's a shop underneath the boat below deck where you can mine for extra resources and get your team upgrades. So then
there's stuff down there. There's
to
a
mine.
shop also.
There's shop and stuff. so you can then get your team gear. So if you're like a player who's like, I'm not strong at PvP necessarily or bridging, then you're like, I can help my team out this way and play defense at the same time. So we were trying to make a PvP game that just allowed different styles for the people playing it to have different roles that they could fill and help their team win. There's still, as you said, there's a few tweaks to be done, making it so the sales are higher, giving the defense or the team on defense a little more ability to defend, and then also making the parkour a little harder than it is right now. Because right now it's kind of easy where people can just sprint through the whole thing. And Pickles goes out here to kind of defend from within, which I think could be is a strategy. But if you notice, he goes down to 3 hearts when he comes out here. Because this isn't necessarily the strategy we want people to be doing. We want you to be defending on your deck, not defending on the other side of it.
Yeah, it's probably also a better idea to wait until someone's coming, because the problem is every time you have a player sitting there doing nothing, they're not scoring points, and that kind of slows down your team. It's kind of a good idea to have like multiple people at once charging through, trying to score. Like as you can see right here, where they're getting like all 3. And it looks like they can get like, 300 points in one go.
That is obviously huge. Massive amount of points when you're only able to score like 1,200 total. Currently 1,000. There's also snowballs, which some players didn't know until like the very last round kind of thing. And those add, because there's no bows, so snowballs are your main projectile weapon to stop people from bridging to your ship or going past. Yeah, see how the sail just let Piggles essentially not fight.
No, it's a round robin as in you go against another team.
So that needed some tweaks, and what we did is just raise the sails and then had the build height stay below them so you can't get up that high. Easy fix. There's potential for some other ideas we got recommended. I think one of them that we are going to do as well is that from your spawn, you have to go a little further down the ship before you start bridging over to force teams to kind of to fight in the middle over that space. Because right now what kind of happens is yellow will have their attacking bridge right next to their spawn. Green has their attacking bridge right next to their spawn. And they just, the attackers from each team ignore each other. Attackers face defenders from the other side. You might say, well then guys, why don't you have the ships have the spawns on the same side? It doesn't go well. The issue is then you have one team typically just steamroll of the other if they're better at PvP, and they can just essentially spawn camp there, and it doesn't work out very well. So you need the spawns separated so there's some space between them when they're going across, but just kind of encouraging them to fight closer in the middle rather than only on the very edges.
Yeah, and actually the main issue isn't even them building from spawn, it's the fact that they can jump on that front sail. Because as soon as you remove that, they have to jump onto the deck and then run towards the center. And that act of jumping down on the middle of the deck and running the center is when the defenders can actually fight them.
Yep.
So that fixes a lot of that issue.
It does. I think this game turned out really well from the initial concepts of it. There's still a little tweaking, I think, to be done with the shop as well to figure out what's the best things to include for the upgrades and stuff and how to have those materials be given across the team. But I think it is a necessary part of the game to add more depth to it and not have it just be run at each other or defend. Like having a third thing to be done. Piggle's there in his inventory for some reason, falling to his death. And I believe this is the round where yellow hits 1,000 points, and then green. Then they try to defend, and green.
I think that was actually red and blue.
Red, never mind.
Yeah, so we don't see it. Because remember, when we're spectating the game, we always just see red's game.
I couldn't remember if we flew around though. But so red hits 1,000, and they're defending. Blue hits like 970 or something, but then it counts the bonus of where their teammates were at the end and gave them 50 more points to make it 1,020 versus 1,000 and gave blue the win, which was not how that was supposed to work. Also, Space Brownie is way out there trying to play defense, but you're one-shottable with your 3 hearts to a crit.
So the best you can do is just kind of stop someone.
So yeah, yellow has 1,000 points now, and they're going to play defense.
Yeah, and the thing is, once you have 1,000, you just have to play, because like if the other team gets 1,000,
You don't
neither
get 1 points.
Yeah, so the idea is that you just go fully defensive and stop them as if you can. I think they stop them.
It's close.
Oh, actually, they might
no.
not.
Wolfie gonna get through. No, I'm pretty sure this team does do what I just said.
I don't know, but there's like gyms everywhere.
Is that they end up over the cap because all of green is over there trying to score points right now, whereas nobody on yellow was trying to score, and so it's gonna tick.
Yeah, that 1050.
1050. And then yellow is very upset and mad about it, and we go, sorry, that's a bug.
Yep, sorry about that, but green needs it.
That's a big thing I noticed from this event, and this is not to say anything mean toward players. This is how players are when they want to win and they're competitive against their friends. They go, wait, how did that team get points there? I want to be able to see how everyone got points to know that I'm not getting cheated out of points and they're not getting free points.
The problem is you can't tell everyone how everyone gets points, because then the chat is just full of yellow messages the entire round. So you have to be very selective about what you show people, because most of the time, there's also a lot of times when people said how, and literally if you scrolled up, you could see the point message, but they're still...
We beat the team we were against.
But now we're on to Robin hunting, which I would say, Gil, would you say was the weakest game of the event?
What do you mean by that?
It seemed the least well received from players.
Green was shooting us.
Besides the finale, but that's separate.
You want me to hide as well?
Maybe I think it was. Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. But people actually gave the least amount of feedback for it.
So maybe.
So I don't actually know if that's true.
It seemed like they all agreed with the feedback, which is hunting's really hard and parkour both too hard and too easy.
Which is a bit annoying feedback to get, because you can't really do anything about that.
So,
yeah.
Explaining the game though, this is Robin hunting. You again go, it's 3 rounds. You face each team 1 time. There will be 2 people hunting from a team, 3 people running from a team. The hunters are up above in these trees with bows shooting down at the runners, who are parkouring around the little small islands to pick up jewels that they have to deposit back in the middle to score points. The issues that kind of rose, first of all, was people didn't know how to select their roles well.
Well, the thing is that what people... This is the thing I knew would happen. People are selfish, okay? And they didn't communicate with their team that with what they were choosing, and none of them chose Hunter. And then what the game does is like, fine, just choose 2 of you and you have to be Hunter. So that's actually what happened to Piggles here, is that Piggles, or no, I forgot who, or I think someone else on the team chose, there weren't enough people and it just kind of automatically chose for them.
The way to change that could potentially, it would have it say like, oh, these people currently are selecting it. Or like
I did that in testing and it broke it more.
We'll have a way that's a little better and more explanatory. The other thing I want to say that we've also, I think we tweaked a few things already. We moved down the hunter platforms a bit so they're firing from closer. They get their arrows faster rather than how slow the current recharge rate is. And then what else do we do, Gilan?
Where is everyone?
Wait, for which part?
For hunting.
The hunting? Because we lowered the platforms. Faster arrow reload. What was the other one? I think that's it. I forgot what else.
Then just some other tweaks of trying to figure out parkour thing. I think we also got rid of health regen maybe for runners.
No, that they keep that one. The problem with that is that then people just get camped at the beginning because you can just shoot them a few times.
Oh, this is hard.
You're not supposed to die. You're actually not supposed to get shot.
This is a hard jump.
Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think a lot of players understood that the paths that go off to the side a lot of the times are purposely really difficult because you're not aiming for it. You basically you try to do the main few and then you run back, and then on the orange side I made them a bit easier, like purposely, so that like if you have someone who's bad, there's like a mix of hard and easy. So that if someone's bad at parkour, you can basically be like, hey, just do the easy ones. And then if you have, usually you have like that one really good player, you have them do the more difficult jumps.
Then I think the slight tweak we could probably add to the tutorial is saying which colors are easier. So then players know which way to send the weaker ones.
Because, like, yeah, this jump is purposely really difficult because you get a ton of points. Like, the amount of points you get, like, those diamonds are worth a lot.
Then Pickles gets it.
I guess Reddit was already
I think we also were looking into having where the runners, if they had a certain number of jewels, they were then glowing for the hunters.
Yeah, actually, for now, I just have it so that from now on, if they have jewels on them, they begin glowing so that you can see them. So as soon as they have points on them, then it glows. The hunters can see them easier.
Because that could also allow for a strategy of kind of, when a path is already kind of clear but the sides aren't, you're going to run out there and not be seen for a bit. You're not going to glow at least.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's hard to keep getting caught out on a difficult jump if you're just trying to go after stragglers, like just a few random ones near the end of the round.
And then hunter. And then I think we see people again complain about, I think every round they had issues with picking hunters.
Well, I think it comes back to the fact that a lot of teams weren't communicating about who was choosing it. Because, and again, if you don't have enough hunters,
if it's not
like in this case, they actually both did it, yeah.
If it's not 2 hunters and 3 runners, then it's gonna have to randomly assign somebody.
Yeah, and so if there's already 2 hunters, it won't let you, and it literally puts a message. I saw it multiple times. It would put a message, gold, red, says, "Hey, there's already a hunter." But if you can't, yeah, and then also sometimes if you're picked as a hunter, it'll put a message that says, "Hey, you're a hunter," because there weren't enough. So it says it in chat, but gamers don't read.
But as you can see from the hunting angle, it is really hard to shoot down.
That's why the bridges have been lowered. You kind of drop down to them instead of them leading all the way up. Because the intention now is that you go down a path, and then if you want to get back up, you just jump down and respawn, because it's like a 3-second respawn. It doesn't take that long.
And then, as you can see, the arrows are coming back, but coming back slowly, so you can't kind of just keep shooting. And so it
also making it so that the platforms are at the bottom means that right now you can see Pickles kind of just camping the spawn area, and is just rotating around to different spawn areas. And that kind of results in an issue if the bridges are lowered and it's easier to shoot. You can just wait until people return and then hit them immediately. But if you have to drop down and commit to a side, it's much harder to like rotate around.
And here's the difficulty when even if you find the right angle, like you find the spot, like I'm gonna stop this guy, they're can bait you for a bit, and they're wasting your time as the other runners are then able to do stuff.
And this is necessary for the game to be balanced, and also just missing the jump. I do like that you just pull off a Neo in both directions and
then missed an easier one. It's the pressure, though, of somebody is now shooting at you.
Yeah. I think one thing that surprised me in this game is the teams that were able to get everything.
Yeah.
There were a few teams that were able to do that.
There's Red Team, who they're currently shooting at.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why when people are like, everything needs to be easier, I'm like, I don't know if it does, because there's not much.
Well, if we're making where that hunting is then easier, then they should score less.
Yeah, it should help balance it out.
What about making hunters invisible to runners?
It's too fun to look up and see them. It's way too fun. Being able to look up and actually see them is also necessary, because the problem is when you get invisible things in video games are the worst thing ever, because you need to know why. Because what we're going to see in chat is people being like, why did I just get knocked off? I'm like, well, it was probably a hunter, and they know it's a hunter, but to them they're like, I didn't see anything. So how do you know? Maybe you just randomly got damaged for something.
I'm pretty sure Red has finished the course except for that platform right there, which is crazy. But again, this is the game where it just felt like the hunters had such a difficult time doing it that people then were frustrated with playing that role. And then we move on to the last, though, of
Siege.
the regular games. This is Siege. There are 6 rounds. Each team will play as the attackers and defenders against each other team. So you do that 6 times total. And you're trying to siege the castle by breaking the final inner door at the castle keep and then standing on the spawn point that the defenders spawn on. Players really love this game, except for the green team. Green team had a hard time.
Yeah, just because it's a PvP game. If you have a team that's not as good as PvP compared to the other games, PvP games end up being worse.
And there's also a few things we noticed that made it really hard as defenders.
And we're losing the fight.
And so finding some tweaking to do to make it a little easier.
It's all just timing, mostly.
As essentially just when respawning would happen.
How do you see me there?
And how that led to difficulties. So what happens, you're going to see it. Are we on attack or defense? We're on defense with Pickles here first. So they spawn up here in the keep. They're able to hop down each of the successive walls kinds of things, and they're going to try to defend their castle. The attackers are trying to capture each of these capture points and mine through the doors to keep going up higher. Every time they capture one of those points, their team now respawns at that point. It can also get recaptured by the defenders. So you'll notice the attackers spawn far away, they move forward, they capture the first attacking point together, and they go, oh, this is how it works. And now they start fighting.
Go.
And then it's a case of, are the respawn timers different between the two teams?
Get this point.
Yeah, so the issue right now is that in order to make sure the attackers can have forward momentum, the defenders take longer to respawn.
Wipe them once.
And that's what it kind of ensures that. The main issue is that in the end, you have an issue where the discrepancy, like you need it to be long enough that when they're at that final point, the attackers or the defenders can't just keep respawning and fighting them off at their door constantly. But the issues on the other side, the attackers were respawning too fast, and it was impossible to push them back. Like even if you won a team fight against them, you wouldn't have time to claim the point again before they would respawn. So that was kind of the fix that had to be made. So now, attackers at the end take about like 3 or 4 seconds longer to respawn, about 3 seconds longer to respawn. So if you wipe them, you have time to claim that final point that Ham Sandwich is standing on right now.
That one was the issue. I don't know if we'll see it in this playback of it, but essentially once the attackers took that, it was impossible to stop them. Even if you have 4 of your defenders all fighting there and there's one guy there, that guy takes too long to die, and then somebody else respawns, and it just keeps going. And again, obviously, it's the first round this game's ever been played that these players have played it, so there was a kind of a figuring out of how this works, how it goes. And over the course of the rounds, they kind of develop a meta and figure out the strats and such.
I also like that red broke 2 holes.
Hey, you gotta.
It actually might be a good strategy though, because it means they could split up. And
because you don't want that there where it's clear the defenders are being overrun and they can just keep throwing their bodies in front of you, and you can't really. The guy keeps getting hit. So not let him break. But you don't want the opposite where the attackers don't stop respawning as you kill them, and so you can't stop their push. So it's trying to find that perfect balance of what is the amount of time for respawning and breaking things. But that was just the first round. I really like this map because I feel like it really gives it the siege feel, like you're defending a castle as they keep coming up the walls.
I saw them break through. I saw them.
Are there other tweaks we're gonna do where we're making it longer to mine anything? Or something like that?
No, I think it was mostly timing because the rest of the game is kind of fine. It's just that end portion, because like it's kind of supposed to feel like the attackers are barreling their way through, like you need that for momentum, but it's that last stand that's impossible right now.
Yeah.
No, we got it.
Because the entire point of the game is to basically delay the attackers for 3 minutes. You're not like winning.
I'll watch right side.
Yeah, you can't win by killing the attackers enough where you then repel the attack. So we're seeing it from the attacker side. They take this first spawn point together. Now they respawn closer. They understand how the mechanic works, which is why it's there. It's like a tutorial-esque thing. And then this is the first one they now fight over. Achievements are on. and Piggles quickly goes to the other side. And also, players get glowing when they're actively breaking the doors.
Or when they're holding the pickaxe is the
That's
trick
what it
for
is.
it. That's why you sometimes see it flick when people are having their pickaxe. But it's a nice way of checking if they're breaking it without having an error or like.
Without having it give it at weird times.
Yeah, because like you could be punching a wall and it would think you're breaking. Like it would be kind of weird cases. So it's specifically holding the pickaxe. It also it allows the defenders to see where stuff is breaking, because most of the time you're just going to hear the dragon noise, which I use that as the noise right now because it stands out a lot. So if you're a defender and you hear that, you're like, oh, something just happened.
And you can see Yellow's doing a very, like, they're winning each fight so they can break the next wall, but then they have to win another fight to break the next one. And so it's a case of right now it's balanced around the defenders always get a chance to defend each layer. But it's hard. If you're not good at PvP, it can be very hard.
Yeah, this one's a case of like, Yellow is doing a very good job this round. So this is one where even with balancing changes, they would probably end up winning it. But you can actually see that they're trying to take this point back. And with the new and improved, they barely missed it there. With the new and improved respawn timing, they probably actually would have gotten that one and pushed them back, and that would have had that push and pull that we kind of want.
Well, the issue there is they weren't defending the middle while they're recapturing it, though.
Yeah.
Which you need that. As well, there is a point. Points were given for each capture point you get, and I know some of the teams didn't capture all of them on the way to the top. And so ended up actually
that's
with
just
less
for point
points.
differential.
Yeah.
Also, like, even if you're a defender and like in the last point you're going to lose, you can just kind of go and capture one and get a few extra points. And it's kind of helped, like, it's almost like teams that will rush and battle box or something, like you end up getting less points, right? Like the idea is that if you really do straight up rush through it, you'll end up getting less points, even if you win.
But essentially what happens is that defenders are constantly trying to plug all the holes that each attacker's going at. And the only way to successfully do that is to communicate as a team. I think that was a big thing with all of our game design philosophies for all of the stuff we made, is how can we make this have a team component and not just feel like it's individual performance.
And the way we did that is that there's no individual points.
There is no individual points within the event.
Well, I mean, they're technically points given to players, but like they're not.
It's not a leaderboard. It's not shown that, yeah.
Because like one of the main issues that when it was removed is that a lot of the games have like asymmetrical point rewards. Like if you're a hunter, you end up getting less points than the runners, because the point of the runners is to get points. The point of the hunters is to
stop the other team from getting points. If you're a defender and jump ship, you're not scoring points.
Yeah, if you're a defender and jump ship, in Brawl, sometimes even if you're playing well, I guess Brawl you get a bit of kill points. That's kind of helpful. But a lot of the later games, you can be a really good teammate and not have the best individual score. And actually, we kind of saw this when looking at individual points later, that I think Yellow, who ends up winning, had a very like even distribution for individual points. I don't think they were. Well, actually, technically, they're in second place. Red had a bunch of people. Red was in first, so they had a few people that were near the top. But Yellow had this like even distribution that really helped them like solidify second place.
But we wanted to make it so even if you're one of those players, you're like, you can typically play slower in events, and that we all have our different skill levels. I'm not that great at the game. We want those players to still have fun and not feel like
I have a 39 average in block wars testing.
Yeah. We don't want to feel, you don't want to feel bad that like, oh, you finished this placement in the event when you like did a lot for your team and were important. And I know this was like common talked about back in the earlier days of MCC, like, oh, they're a great team player, they're a great support player. And people weren't using it well. They were never they would just act like that meant something without trying to talk about what skills or what the person was doing. Whereas for our event, we wanted to be like, here are different roles you can play to help your team and kind of cater to different play styles.
Yeah.
And look how close green came here as well. Probably like 10 seconds away from winning that round.
What?
No.
Do we watch all of this game? No. I think we have one more round.
What does that even mean?
Probably the last one when the yellow is playing.
I believe. I don't know who they're fighting.
It's gonna be like
No, because that was only 3. So this is
Oh.
4th.
Okay.
Yeah, because technically the last round is when this is the one where the last round was the one where I believe blue had to go against red and red won, and if blue had won, they probably would have been in second. It was kind of like between yellow and red.
But I think this game was the best received of the games. People liked that it just kind of gave a fun kind of style of PvP game. So we were really excited to see that. I also want to hear your thoughts if you've watched all the way to this video, because I know not a lot of people do, and that's okay. But if you're like, what games did you find the most entertaining and enjoyable, and what would you want to play if you were in the event?
What? That didn't hit.
I would only play archery. That's all I would do, all by myself.
You know, Joe, you can do that.
I can, but if I do that, then I don't get anything else done ever.
Okay.
That's why you don't let me do it.
Wait, I hit lucky?
True.
But yeah, I also appreciate just that all the games kind of felt, they all did what they wanted to do for an event 0, where we're like, we don't know if this will work, but we hope it does. And they did, and that's very satisfying after all of the work that's been put in. Gilan did basically all of the development and coding side of things. And
yeah, it helped from a few people on
there
were a couple of games.
Yeah.
And then also for like setting up database stuff. Had help with that. But most of it, yeah, it's 800 hours of work.
And this is the final result.
Programming work, not counting testing. That's just programming time.
Not counting testing, not counting all the builds we had to get commissioned and done, not counting all the art stuff we had to also get ready, the music.
And the fact that at a few points we had to do the art and the building stuff
ourselves. And we're not the best at art or building.
No, you can kind of tell in the event there's certain points where the build doesn't look as good. And that's kind of
that's us trying our best. But so I just want to highlight this because we had this podcast talking about how to make an event. And we were saying this with full knowledge of we were working on our own thing in the background, how long it took, also with our knowledge of Block Wars. But having said that, like, what we were trying to create here is about the highest quality you can aim for a first event, which I don't think everyone needs to aim for when they're creating an event. I don't think everybody should aim for it because it is a lot. And it requires a ton of different skill sets and abilities. And if you're a small team, you're not going to have all of those skill sets.
And there's also the kind of thing where most of the time, if you're creating an event, the people who are going to play in it the first time are going to be like your friends and stuff. You know, that makes sense. You kind of have the advantage of knowing people who've played in Block Wars. Like, there's. I mean, to be fair, Piggles will probably be in your event. You can probably ask Piggles. Piggles will, but a lot of yeah. But you know, it might be hard to get a bunch of people first time, but you know that doesn't really matter in the end. If you can make something and you're proud of it, that's the important part.
And just
and
recognizing like what is the best? What does it look like when it's doing the best that it can? Like it works. There's no these kinds of bugs. There's no those kinds of bugs. We're able to run through the whole event. Your event does that. Incredible. How do you want to introduce what we're at here, Gilan?
So this is the finale game. It's jousting. Its
build did not quite get finished as well, so
yeah,
it doesn't quite work.
Finished. It's basically boats with tridents. You're in a boat and you gotta throw tridents at other people. This one has been changed a bit. It has been updated. You'll see problems with it. I think the main issue we had is that in the beginning you run into your teammates. Fix that one by having everyone have separate spawns now. Right now it's just one spawn. It's not good. The other one is that a lot of times you hit people, like visually you hit them with your trident, but technically it hit the boat. So now there's a thing that if you hit the boat high up enough and it looks like you hit the player, it'll give you the hit. Which also means that players aren't as invincible as they were before. Like right now, you can just kind of charge in and take a bunch of shots because people won't hit you correctly. And that has made it a bit better.
Gilan, what goes
and
wrong?
also the map has gone. Well, the main issue right here is again, the boat collision for the Australians is the worst because it's like boat collision, you can kind of, it'll work itself out eventually, like people will find their way, but you can actually see they kind of all get stuck because like lag wise, the server's like, where are you? Right? So they're kind of in that situation. Now, to be fair, I will say that like yellow, the other problem we always had this game is one team always figures out the game faster than the other ones, the other team. So we kind of had this issue where you could hear, I think Shane mentioned like aim high, which is again that problem I fixed later. But also yellow did the better strategy of fanning out, which I now with the new spawning system, everyone's already fanned out at the start of the game, so you're kind of forced to be in that strategy, which is a bit better. You can see the issue when everyone spawns at one point. You know, this is why it spawns at be. And then also the one big thing I changed was the map's a bit bigger now. There's more space. There's less walls in the starting area, so you get more like open area on your spawn for you to like move around. Everyone can kind of orient themselves.
And if you want to explain how we got to this game and how we kind of got to where this game is.
Do I? I mean, that could be a whole podcast episode
of just finale episodes. Well, we'll save that for next time. But briefly, we were trying to make a game that is like a joust, but a team joust. And we essentially tried that by using minecarts that would have been retextured as horses that were on a track, essentially. And then you'd be able to hit people when you're going past them. It worked in very initial prototyping. And then never again. Yeah.
It was, I mean, it would actually be terrible for this because of the ping. It was always a ping issue. This kind of fixed. I remember what was the in between. There was pigs for a while.
Yeah, you could ride on pigs.
Which is kind of fun. The problem with pigs is that you have to hold the carrot on a stick, and you're always like moving, and it's like very weird controls. The nice thing about boats is that they're limited controls, but they move. Like you can move them pretty easily,
and can shoot at the same time.
And you can shoot from them pretty easily. So that kind of fixed that.
So we're, as Gilan said, we're still doing those adjustments. If those don't work to make the game fun, might have to redo the finale game again, which will be another fun thing to have to do.
Also, we'll just rename it to be Boat Joust so people know. That was actually, when we originally had for a moment pigs, I renamed it to be called Pig Joust.
Yeah.
So that it kind of made a bit more sense. Because I think it is confusing when people first see it.
It was funny to see everybody's feedback on Joust as well, because they essentially said, like, incredible creative design did not work in the slightest. Like, everyone thought it was hilarious and fun and funny, but we're like, hey, this didn't work.
And it was just kind of like out of left field, bit confusing to start. And it's just, it wasn't nice to, it was kind of one of those things where I noticed in testing when we do it, eventually we had a few matches that went pretty well, but there was always a situation where, like, because I played it a bunch when I was testing on my own, I would be able to get like 3 kills per round against a team sometimes if it was new people, just because it takes like a moment to get used to. Mostly the actual one, you can actually see this because I watched a lot of Red Team's VOD. I think there was a round where Shane would have died twice if they had aimed slightly upwards, because they kept basically hitting him, but it kept hitting the boat instead of him. Like it was like barely hitting the boat. So that was kind of the situation. Like the game was actually taking that into account. It should have been more balanced, but it was just due to that slight understanding of like not really knowing how the boat hitboxes look like, because no one knows how boat hitboxes work. Like they're kind of weird. So like based off of that, the game should have been a little more even. But like that was the thing we had to fix, kind of like an obvious one.
But yeah, that was KST Event 0. Hopefully we'll have time to record another episode next week as well to then talk about maybe the finale game or maybe just more stuff in making this event. Let us know in the comments what you're excited about, how you enjoyed it if you saw it, or what you're looking forward to talking about. We'll see you all next time.